What's up everyone? I'm back with another top 10 video. This time we're going to focus on one of my favorite racing game franchises in the world, Need for Speed. I've been playing the game for over 20 years, and aside from a handful, I've played pretty much every Need for Speed game available to me. I've played some more than others, and now that I've finished playing Unbound, I figured this about be a good time to make a top 10 list. Because we probably won't see another Need for Speed game for another 2 or 3 years while they change the entire formula. So let's get started with number 10, which is going to be Need for Speed High Stakes. This was the first Need for Speed game I ever played back in 2001, and is what I spent most of my time on until I got better games. High Stakes is mostly here for nostalgia purposes only. Compared to the other games on the list, it doesn't really hold up well. I considered putting Need for Speed World here, but I decided on High Stakes just because of how much this game means to me, you know? At number 9, we get into 2012's Most Wanted. This was overall a good game. Despite me not really liking it at the start, it did kind of grow on me. This is simultaneously a fun and a boring game to play. The controls feel great, and I enjoy not really having to think about customizing my vehicles, and it feels like a mix of Burnout and Need for Speed all put together, and I really enjoyed it. However, there is no reason to do what you're doing other than just to do it. There's no story. While I'm not a fan of the recent cringy stories they've been telling, I'm also not a fan of the non-existent story here. I know it sounds like I'm complaining, but I really do enjoy this game. My only complaint was that it was called Most Wanted. It was obviously an attempt to get older fans like me to buy it, and sadly, it worked. At number 8 is Need for Speed Heat. In my opinion, this should have been one of the best Need for Speed games ever made. It controls really well, the customization is fantastic, and the map is just really good. I love driving around the entire world, and the police chases are challenging. The biggest thing that holds this game back is how bad the story is. It's stupid, it's boring, there's no real big payoff at the end. It's just the generic corrupt organization story that Need for Speed has become so attached to with their most recent games. But aside from that, I had a blast playing this game. I had a ton of fun completing the races, collecting all the collectibles, and they even had some pretty sweet DLC. I did do all that on Xbox, and I'm on PC now, so I'm not about to do that all over again, unfortunately. Fun fact though, this game's drifting mechanic is broken. I easily completed all the drifting events with a car that had drag tires on it. That to me is silly. At number 7 is Need for Speed Payback. You can pretty much copy and paste my praises from Heat onto this game. However, Payback in my opinion has a more interesting story with more interesting characters. Tyler, Mac, and Jessica were very well written, their dialogue with each other, while cringy at times, were still enjoyable. And since each character specialized in something, it felt like there was a need to actually play each other to accomplish their goals. I mean, it's not like I really had a choice, the game makes you do it, but you know, the illusion of choice was nice. I will say recently while replaying it, it doesn't control as well as Heat does. I'm not sure if it's just me or I don't know, but it just feels stiffer and less responsive. Other than that, it's a really solid Need for Speed game. At number 6 is Need for Speed Rivals. Ghost Games' first Need for Speed game, and to me, out of the 4 they've done, it's the best one they've made. With hardly any car customization, you could just focus on driving and enjoy racing around the world. Playing as a racer or a cop gave you a number of challenges to further your progress and unlock cars and abilities. I'm sure others that enjoy all the car customization will disagree with me, but I personally think when Need for Speed has games that focus more on driving the cars versus customizing them, that it produces the best games ever. My only issue with this game, aside from its very cringy quote-unquote story, was all the browns and oranges in the scenery that made it difficult for my eyes to see sometimes. And if you play the game on PC now, it's not the best experience ever. I was surprised to still see people in the servers. At number 5 is 2010's Hot Pursuit, which is a fantastic game. This was the first game that brought the franchise back to simpler times where it was just the player, their stock car, and a few police cars to make it interesting. I will admit though, the only real problem I have with this game is that I did not enjoy the fact that racers could use the same abilities as the police could. It took away some of the challenge of escaping from police when I could just hit them with the same spike strips and EMPs they hit me with. And in my opinion, playing as a cop wasn't really fun either. When you're trying to take down more than 2 racers at a time and everyone's dropping spikes on you, you can't really make any progress honestly. But I still had a lot of fun playing this game. And as I mentioned earlier with Rivals and even with 2012's Need for Speed, when customization isn't really the focus of these kind of games, I think these games themselves are just better than most of the other games. At number 4 is Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2. I really wanted to put this game at the top, but I just couldn't with how good the rest of the games are. Hot Pursuit 2 is so high up because like 2010's Hot Pursuit, it was mostly focused on your driving skills. It wasn't really focused on any customization, nothing like that. It was just you and the car, and the police as well. But even when playing as a cop, the abilities you could use to stop other racers didn't really feel out of place and were fun to use. Earning points to unlock Need for Speed versions of cars kept me playing the game for weeks and weeks. My parents bought this game for me back in 2004, and I've not beat it yet, honestly. They have the Ultimate Racer and the Hot Pursuit series to complete, both total over 60 different races, and some of these races would take forever to complete because the tracks were so big. And completing a race that's 4 to 6 minutes long, that might not sound too bad right now. Most racing games are below that. But imagine having to do that for 60 plus races, and in some of these events, you have to do 6 races inside of those races. No. At number 3 is Need for Speed Underground 2. Arguably the most popular Need for Speed game in history. It's everyone's favorite game and probably the most requested to be remade or remastered. I mean, this game has everything. In-depth car customization, a very simple but solid story, plenty of cars, and a fantastic soundtrack. It made me feel like I was really a part of this huge racing community. I even enjoyed the comic book style of storytelling it did and how it tied into the first Underground. EA honestly had a really good thing going with this game and it just stopped. I'm not sure why. At number 2 is Need for Speed Carbon. Now, calm down. I know this is not everyone's favorite game and it's usually not even included in top 10 lists, not that I've seen. And you know what? That's fair. I understand why people don't have this on their list, and I know why people would not put this game over Underground 2, but this is my list, and just hear me out. I believe the reason why this game gets so much flack, and I'm not saying this is true because I don't know, but it seems like a very uninspired game. I mean, even the name, Need for Speed Carbon, it sounds like it's a play on it being a carbon copy of its predecessor. For me, I mean, it's not really an issue. I don't mind it too much. I enjoyed it for what it was trying to do. It had a decent story, the races were still fun, I enjoyed the tag team racing kind of thing they were doing, and I love the canyon races. That's just me personally. Really, my main complaint with this game is that the legendary BMW M3 GTR is only playable in quick play races. But since we're talking about the best car in the entire franchise, at number 1 we have Need for Speed Most Wanted. Depending on who you talk to, this is the best Need for Speed game that was ever created. Everything about this game was perfect. There isn't a conversation about Need for Speed that's been had that does not mention this game. Even when Unbound was coming out, people were making comparisons between it and Most Wanted. I put so much time into this game as a kid and I've replayed it so many times that I might be biased when I say this, but it was the perfect Need for Speed game. The races, the music, the story, even the boss intros were epic. I suppose 2012's Most Wanted tried to recreate this, but it didn't work. I don't think any racing game will ever be able to top how great Most Wanted was. And that's saying something because I believe the Forza Horizon franchise is making the best racing games ever right now. And those are my top 10 favorite Need for Speed games of all time. Please leave a comment below and tell me what your favorite Need for Speed games are. I would love to hear about them. And follow me on Twitter, I'm pretty active there.